Well, it goes on like that. Then on the 50th day in the morning, Satyavan is about to go to the forest to do his routine work of collecting the flowers, collecting the fruits, collecting the wood and all that sort of a thing. He is ready to go to the forest. At that time, Savitri urges him, today you will not go unaccompanied by me. You will not go to the forest without me. And she pleads to him, let me also come with you today. He does not know what for she is asking, but she is insisting on that. But Satyavan said, oh sweet and beautiful, never have you been to the forest earlier, and the paths are rough and wounding. Besides, when you have become so feeble with your vow and fast, how can you then walk? Well, that's a kind of a natural situation. You do that thing, you see. But Savitri says, neither languid nor exhausted do I feel due to this vow and the fasting, but full of eagerness because I am accompanying you. I get all the energy. Refuse me not this request of mine. Let me also come with you today. He does not know what for she is insisting. But then Satyavan says, look, it is not that I who will give the permission. The permission has to come from the elders in the house. If you are so desirous to come, I shall do what is pleasing to you. But that I be not blamed for this, well, that is the way of saying, I will not be. Obtain permission from the venerables, from her parents-in-law. Then only you can come with me. Without that, no. It's not like model girl. See. Then Markandeya said, then Savitri, the observer of the difficult vow, went to her in-laws and with due respect requested them this way. Presently, my husband is leaving for the great forest to gather fruits. A desire impels me to go also with him, if by the respectable mother and father-in-law I shall be permitted to do so. I cannot bear, even for a moment, separation from him any more. Your son is going to the forest to collect fruits and flowers and sacrificial wood for the sacred fire, as are needed by his revered teachers. So it behoves me not to stop him from this. Today I am going to break my fast. I cannot stop him because he is doing something in the service of the elders. I can't stop him. I cannot come their way. Had it been for something else, I would not have allowed him to go to the forest. Besides, it is almost for a year that he did not step out of the ashram premises. But now a curiosity has arisen in me to see the forest. That is the pretext she is making, of course, full of trees and flowers. And then Vimarsana says, ever since Savitri's father left here her as my daughter-in-law, never has she made any request for anything. That is how the daughter-in-law would live in the house. I do not recollect her having done so any time, and therefore let the young wife have what she is longing for. How can I refuse her request now? But, oh my dear daughter, be not inadvertent while following the way with Satyavan. It's a rough view, it's a thick forest. You have to be very careful about all that things, etc., etc. Thus, obtaining thus the permission from the in-laws, the triumphant lady, Yashaswini, She has obtained the permission from her parents-in-law, you see. She has become triumphantly, Yashaswini, triumphant lady, went with her husband, but while she appeared to be smiling and happy, in her bosom she carried, as ever, a deep affliction, because she knew what is going to happen shortly. She saw large eyed as she was, different parts of the forest, varied in aspects and beautiful everywhere, etc. etc. And Satyavan is showing to her all kind of beauty. Yet, with steadfast look, she kept a close vigil on all the movements of her husband, even as she was going. And then Satyavan, then he, well, let's say, this is a very beautiful description, in fact. Yet, with a steadfast look, she kept a close vigil on all the movements of her husband, remembering well the words of the heavenly sage. She knew for certain the death of her husband with the arrival of time shortly. She, walking with a soft and gentle gait, had her heart as if divided into two. On the one hand, she is in the company of her lover, and on the other hand, she sees his death in another hour. So she is divided into two already. Now, this is a very beautiful description which you also have more or less along these lines in Shiv Endu Savitri. And then what happens here is, then he, Satyavan, lustrous in strength. He is a young man, very beautiful, well built, shining personality, and helped by his wife, collected a basket full of fruits and began chopping the firewood for the sacrifice. But while hewing the branches, he started sweating profusely. And as a result of that hard labor, suffering a severe headache. Distressed as he was, he went closer to his loving wife and in that affliction told her, "There is a cleaving headache that has come to me due to this hard work." Not that he is not used to this hard work, but he is excited because his young wife is there with him. He wants to finish off quickly that thing so that he can give more time to her. And therefore he gets exhausted, tired. "Oh Savitri, all my limbs are in agony, and there is a burning sensation in my heart. I find myself gravely indisposed. Oh, one of few words, of few Mita Bhashini." She is a lady of few words, Mita Bhashini, of few words. "It appears to me as though sharp spikes are being driven through my head. I wish to lie down. Oh, blessed and auspicious Kalyani, Savitri. It is she who will bring all Kalyana to me, all the auspicious things of life. As I had no strength to remain standing." Savitri, finding him so, immediately went closer to her husband and sat on the ground and took his head in her lap. The description here parallels to a large extent what we are reading here. We'll see that thing also as we proceed further. But there are very fine details here. See, the important thing is he is working hard, he is exhausted. The summer noon is there in the month of June, in the north particularly, see, and he gets suddenly tired of that. So the physical cause of death, Satyavan, there has to be a physical cause of death. Occult, of course, he has to die, but there has to be a physical cause. The physical cause of death is this exhaustion, overworking, plus intensity of heat, a kind of a sunstroke, if at all. It is not snake bite, it is not hitting accidentally his leg with the axe. It is due to heat. And that is why everywhere in Savitri we have the long forenoon noon was here. Foreknown, noon was here. Noon is everywhere, at every place, important description about noon. Savitri's marriage takes place at noon. Narad makes announcement at noon, and summer noon is intense, and at noon is now tied up with the death of Satyavan. So that is the physical cause of death. That has to be. So the poet is also very careful in not dismissing the physical causes of these occurrences. Within a short while, well, he says, remembering what Narad had said, that devout woman, observer of the ascetic practices, began reckoning the day, the time, the hour, the moment. Veda, Divasa, Muhurta, Kshana, that is what you call. Vedam, Divasa, Kshanam, Muhurtam, everything she is counting minutely. And the poet is very particular about that thing. Time, he says, hour, moment, day of course is there already, you see. The exact moment is also fixed. Within a short while, she saw present there a bright person in red attire. Savitri is there under the tree. Satyavan's head is in her lap, and there now she sees somebody there coming here. Within a short while, she saw present there a bright person in red attire, with a tiara on his head, huge, big, bright, brilliant crown. Handsome and brilliant he looked. So this Yama is not just a frightful figure. He is something who is great, grand, glorious, imposing personality also. As though the sun god himself had appeared there. He was so bright, sun god himself. Actually, Yama is the common name, but he is also called Vaivasvata. Yama is also called Vaivasvata. Vaivasvata means the son of Vivasvana. Vivasvana is one of the sun gods. So he is the son of the sun god, you see, in that sense. Vaivasvata. So that is the bright figure whom Savitri is seeing there. His body, dark in hue, was lustrous, and his eyes were blood red, and he had a noose in his hand which inspired great fright. Standing close behind Satyavan, he was steadfastly gazing at him, at Satyavan in her lap, you see. She, noticing him, laid aside her husband's head on the ground, and as a mark of respect to the sun god, she stands up. With folded hands and trembling in her heart, spoke in an anxious, longing voice to him. Savitri said to him, I take you to be some noble god, as you have form other than a human. If it pleases you, pray tell me who you are and what you propose to do. Oh God, she's questioning him, you see. And Yama replies to Savitri, Oh Savitri, as you are devoted to your husband, and as you practice ascesis, tapasya, I can converse with you. I will not talk to a lowly woman, a person who is holy, who is accomplished, who is a realized soul. I will go and talk to him. Know me, O virtuous lady, to be Yama. Your husband Satyavan, earth-born as he is a mortal. He is earth-born. Earth is also called Mrityu Loka, the mortal world. He is earth-born. His life is over, and I have come to bind him forcibly and take him away with me. Yes, this is what I propose to do. She was asking, no? I mean, what are you coming? Now here, you see, there is something very interesting, and very quickly all these things are said about Yama's description here. See, on the one hand, you have got a bright person in red attire, luminous, handsome, brilliant, etc., sun god. And on the other hand, you have got his body dark in hue. His body is dark in hue. In other words, we have here the double aspect of Yama. As the giver of law and upholder of law, he is firm and dark. But the law originates from some higher source, from some transcendental world, and therefore he is bright and luminous also. See. What I am trying to say here is that Vyasa and the traditions, although they describe Yama like this, they don't distinguish clearly, distinctly, the two aspects of Yama, the dark aspect and the bright aspect. Now that is exactly what we have in Savitri. What Savitri means in Shyamandur Savitri in the beginning is a dark aspect of Yama. The dark in hue, it is that shadow, it is that aspect what we see in Shyamandur Savitri from book 9 and book 10. But then in book 11, Yama is transfigured. What we see here there is a bright aspect of Yama. It is that bright Yama who becomes the giver of boons to Savitri. It is he who gives boons to Savitri in book 11, you see. So now the elements are present here, they have not been properly expanded, or perhaps that is not, he is telling you a story, that's all. Therefore, he is not going to those details. But here we have that thing very clearly mentioned. The inconscient born Yama is dark, he is the shadow or the void of nothingness, he is dark. But whose shadow is it? It is the shadow of the Supreme Himself. When that thing goes away, when that is dissolved, then what do you see behind that Yama? Only the bright Supreme, the transcendental Supreme Himself, Ishvara Himself, you see. That is what we have in book 11. And then he becomes the giver of boons to Savitri, you see, from that point. So these elements are present in the tradition, in the original story also like that, you see. Savitri has a long chat, so to say, with Yama, and finally, in a way, she convinces him. It is a kind of a logomachy, argument against argument. But each argument, what we call debate, each argument is charged with an occult force. When you speak something, what you are really doing is you are not arguing, you are throwing some occult force to those words. So it is a clash of occult forces of the bright and of the dark, which is what we have got in book 10 later on here you see.